it's not about just doing things that the kid won't like. It's about doing things for a reason. When you're an adult, if you shirk your responsibilities, there are natural consequences for shirking those responsibilities. Let's take not doing the dishes, for example. If I don't do the dishes long enough, mold starts growing on the dishes. It starts to stink. I don't have a sink that I can wash my hands in. It's inconvenient. Okay? And it very rarely reaches that point anymore because I understand the consequence of leaving it for too long. I like having a clean sink. All right? Teach your kids to like having a clean sink for those reasons. Teach your kids that there are natural consequences to your actions or inaction. It's not that hard. Okay, I got a favorite for you guys. I got a fan favorite. Matt Walsh, baby! That's right, we got a Matt Walsh special. So, Matt Walsh this time is whinging about gentle parenting TikToks, quote unquote. I've never heard of this. But I'm sure that Matt Walsh, Parent of the Year, Matt Walsh, is going to have very good parenting takes. Definitely not a weirdo who has interesting ideas about children, right? So let's see what he thinks about parenting and these gentle parenting TikToks.
You know, it's difficult to be a good parent in our culture today. The forces pulling your child away from you, the corrupting influences that seek to degrade him and destroy his soul are more numerous and more powerful and more ubiquitous and unavoidable and have more immediate access to him than at any other point in human history. And this is why it's so easy to fail at parenting.
Did I miss something? Okay.
These days, but also why it's so crucial that we don't. And for that reason, I'm always troubled when some confused, fatally stupid, and inept parenting method arises. Every few years, a fancy new parenting trend seems to crop up. They always have different names and present themselves as different strategies, but they're basically the same bad ideas repackaged and resold over and over and over again. You'll notice that up until the latter half of the last century, there were no parenting trends or parenting methods. You didn't have
the 4 parenting styles. I literally learned this in high school psychology. This was like 10 years. This is over 10 years ago, mind you. We got permissive, which is child-driven, rarely gives or enforces rules, overindulges child to avoid conflict. Authoritative, solves problems together with child, sets clear rules and expectations, open communication, and natural consequences. This is the most... The authoritative method is the most clinically sound. Like, this is the most, what's the word I want to use? The most effective. Let's just say the most effective. Then you have neglectful and authoritarian. Most conservatives go for the authoritarian method, which is parent-driven, sets strict rules and punishment, one-way communication with little consideration of child's social, emotional, and behavioral needs. This is what turns people into anxiety-driven messes, okay? The authoritarian parent style. Which is the usual conservative go-to, complete with spankings, perhaps some other forms of corporal punishment, right? Floggings, kneeling on rice or whatever the you know, like shit like that. Good shit that children, it's just normal for children to do, right?
Have different types.
But my point in bringing this up is like this has always been a thing. Shut the f up.
Of parenting, there was only parenting. If you'd asked your great-grandfather what parenting strategy he preferred...
When you punish a kid, make sure to have them think about how they f up and how to avoid it again in the other ways. So when a kid does something wrong, right? Let's say a kid steals something. Have a dialogue. Say, why did you steal this? Why did you feel the need to steal this? You know, like, let's say they stole a candy bar from the store. Why did you feel the need to steal a candy bar from the store and you got caught, right? Well, I wanted a candy bar. Okay. Well, next time, instead of getting into the, instead of taking the risk of getting caught and then going to jail for stealing, why don't you just pay for it? You need money? You need money to pay for it? You know what's easier than getting caught and going to jail? Making your own money and paying for it. I'll give you money. Keep your grades up, keep your room clean, I'll give you money for candy bars. It's that simple. It's really that simple. Give kids a healthy alternative outlet. Just give them a healthy alternative. That's all it takes. Hot take, we should have permission to give birth. So conservative people with authoritarian parenting styles are rooted out. It's harmful to society to permit. Have a permit. Oh, sorry. I don't like that. I think that you should be allowed to have children at your own discretion. Now, I do think also that, like, there should be regular checks, like wellness checks on your kid. You know, like, just make sure they're doing well. Make sure that you're not abusing them. Shit like that. A test. See, here's the problem. You run into the problem of punishing people for, like, having children. And I don't like that. I don't want to punish people for having children. So, I just think regular wellness checks would be acceptable.
If you asked him if he was a conscious parent or a helicopter parent or a positive parent or whatever, he would have looked at you confused, not understanding the question. Or else he would have shown you his belt.
I don't think that's true.
In recent decades, thanks in large part to the psychiatric industry, parenting has become...
By the way, not a single shred of research has ever supported that corporal punishment is good for children.
Much more complicated than it needs to be. With too many competing strategies, all of them seemingly designed to make your child into a dysfunctional, needy, entitled little hellion, and in that way, they've been extremely successful. Which brings us to a parenting trend that has gotten a lot of attention lately. It's called gentle parenting. Now, if you've ever ventured into the world of TikTok and Instagram parents, you are familiar with this term. It's a style of parenting gaining popularity, especially in my generation. In fact, it's very, very popular. A recent survey of millennial parents conducted by Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago found that a staggering 75%.
How well the CPS actually work? I grew up with divorced parents, so I only really have a negative outlook of it. It's probably not nearly as good as it could be. Child protective services and child services in general in this country need a complete overhaul. Foster care is abysmal. Even the adoption process is abysmal. Like, we need so much fixed in terms of child care in this nation. It is abysmal. Most guys I knew who had physical parents regularly got caught stealing bikes and fighting kids after or during school. Well, why were they stealing bikes? Probably because they didn't have their own. Why didn't they have their own bikes? Probably because their parents are have poor economic circumstances. Why do their parents have poor? You can go back and the ultimate... I got news for you, chat. The ultimate root of the problem of why kids steal bikes is capitalism. Who would have guessed that would have gone back to that? You can always trace it back to capitalism. Crazy that. Anyway.
Of millennial parents identify with the gentle parenting technique. So, what is gentle parenting? The website parents.com has an explainer on the subject.
Here, we'll let him explain.
Gentle parenting is a peaceful, positive style of parenting that is very different from that of previous generations of parents. It is but one of many styles of parenting out there, from authoritative and permissive to free range and conscious parenting. There are seemingly more variations than a burnt-out parent can count. But if you're looking to add a new approach to your arsenal, you may want to consider gentle parenting.
That didn't explain what gentle parenting is. Beginner's Guide. Gentle parenting is a parenting approach that encourages a partnership between you and your child to make choices based on an internal willingness instead of external pressures. This parenting style asks you to become aware of the behavior you model for your child, encourages compassion, welcomes emotions, and accepts the child as a whole capable being. This approach doesn't follow a strict set of rules. It wasn't created by a lifestyle or parenting guru, nor does it stem from a celebrity fad. The gentle parenting philosophy includes a wide variety of strategies that may already be familiar to you. Empathy, understanding, and respect. Sounds fine to me. Your children are people. The problem that a lot of, especially conservative parents have is that they view their children as property, as extension, or even worse, as extension of themselves. Okay? Your child is not an extension of yourself, and it's not a piece of personal property. Your child's a person, and they deserve the respect of a human being. All right? When I was a gymnastics coach for children, they would tell me, oh my God, like, you speak to these children like they're adults. You speak to them like they're adults. And I'm like, no, I don't. I just treat them with basic respect. Like, these children have their own needs and desires. These children have their own ideas, and I try to respect that. Children deserve a basic amount of respect, okay? And this whole children should be seen and not heard idea from the conservatives is disgusting. That's what leads to children being dysfunctional. I consider the property thing worse. You could consider either one worse, but the point is, they're not an extension of yourself, and they're not a piece of personal property.
Now, before parents.com tells us exactly what this approach consists of, we should make note of one thing. We're told that gentle parenting is very different from that of previous generations of parents. And that's true. It's also the whole problem. Now, I'm not saying that we should parent exactly as our own parents and grandparents did. I'm not saying that previous generations of parents did.
By the way, I'm not saying your child should be your friend either, okay? Your child's not your friend. They're your child. You're there to guide them, okay? So they're not your friend. You're there to guide them through life until they're at the age of 18 or older and ensure that they have what they need to succeed, okay? Through this precarious world. So they're not your friend either. I'm not advocating for that. What I am advocating for is show them some basic respect. Give them some boundaries, you know? Like, give them some privacy. Treat them as though they're a human being.
Didn't make mistakes. I'm not saying they were perfect. But previous generations of parents did parent the people who built human civilization. They parented the pioneers and poets and philosophers and artists and inventors and warriors and leaders.
And very often those parents were disowned by their children.
Who accomplished incomprehensible feats of heroism and genius, and who gave us every good and wonderful and beautiful thing we have in our lives. So, old-fashioned parenting, we might call it.
By the way, this doesn't necessarily have to be like a new style of parenting. The style of parenting that works the best has always existed, okay? And there are some parents that have always used it. And those children usually turn into the most functional and capable adults. All right. When you parent your child against the better advice of psychiatrists who have studied this shit, right, or whatever doctor you want, who have studied this extensively, all you're doing purely, I've thought about this purely from like not even a humanistic perspective, just like from a purely practical perspective, like a cold, unemotional, practical approach, right? You're making your child worse. You're making your child a worse human being that is less capable of being productive. That's what you're doing. When you spank your kid, you are literally taking away potential that your child might otherwise have. You know what I mean? So even just from the non-humanist perspective of like, well, maybe we shouldn't abuse kids because it's torture. You're making your child a worse person by beating them. I'm just saying. That's what the studies show.
Record. It's the parenting that took us from mud huts to the moon. What has modern parenting produced? Does it have a similar record of success? Or has it instead produced multiple generations of depressed, lazy, overgrown brats stuck in a perpetual state of emotional and mental adolescence? I'll let you answer that question for yourself.
Unlike Matt Walsh, whose only career is being a talking head for Daily Wire, right? What have you added to society? Shut the fuck up. You know what you added to society? Thinking that teenagers are capable of like being parents and marrying people. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you've added. That's the rhetoric that you've added to society, is saying that like teenagers are capable of marrying into of getting married and having kids. Shut the fuck up.
I would see nothing wrong with a society like what was happening up until about 1950, where 17-year-old girls are getting married to 17 or 18-year-old guys that are not kids, they're men, and they're starting a family.
The point is, we should be immediately suspicious.
My parents once tried to gaslight me into thinking they never spanked me. Yeah, that's a common tactic of narcissist parents.
Of a
Sorry to hear
very
that.
different style of parenting. Why is it very different? Was the old-fashioned parenting style broken? In what way was it broken? And if it wasn't broken, why are we fixing it? Continuing, quote, gentle parenting is a means of parenting without shame, blame, or punishment. It's centered on partnership, as both parents and children have a say in this collaborative style. Quote, gentle parenting, also known as collaborative parenting, is a style of parenting where parents do not compel children to behave by means of punishment or control, but rather use connection, communication, and other democratic methods to make decisions together as a family, says Danielle Sullivan, a parenting coach.
Wow, God forbid. Here, let's let them finish.
Gentle parenting teaches children that they can be active in the world, set their own boundaries, trust their own needs, and make their voices heard.
God forbid that we let children have some fucking autonomy and say in the way that they're raised. It's not like they chose this world, man. It's not like they chose to be born. You literally brought them into this world against their will. Okay? So yeah, they should have some say in that. Hot take 2, if someone abuses a child, they should go to jail for 25 years to life because you're basically psychologically ruining them for the rest of their lives. I don't know. That's a whole complicated issue. There's like different levels of abuse. I was abused a little bit. Most people were abused a little bit. There's like different levels of abuse. So that's, you know, that is a hot take. And I don't know if I completely agree. Yeah, it depends on the level of abuse, exactly. Yeah, democratic methods, the horror. Okay, so like I was saying, the best way to, quote, punish a child, when you say punish a child, what's the goal, right? The goal of punishing a child is to discourage certain behaviors. But the best way to discourage a behavior is to replace the behavior with something healthier. So let's say your kid draws on the walls, okay? And you want to discourage that behavior because you don't want your walls to be fucked up. Give them a piece of paper. Encourage their drawing and give them a piece of paper to draw on. Okay? Teach them that paper, or even give them chalk and let them draw on the walls outside. Okay? Give them an alternative. Let's say, okay, here's an example from somebody that I know. Let's say that your kids turn on the sink faucet and plug the sink so that the bathroom floods with water, right? And then they splash around in it because they think it's fun. Okay? Teach them that that's wrong, and then get them a kiddie pool. Get them a kiddie pool and a hose so they can splash around in water outside. Give them healthy, reasonable alternatives to their misbehavior. Throwing soap in their mouth, throwing them in their rooms and punishing them like that, all that teaches them is that the way that you make people do what you want is to punish them, is to hurt them. That's what you're teaching your kids. Okay? Now, if there's a certain point, punishment is completely reasonable. Once you teach your kids, hey, don't flood my bathroom, splash around in the kiddie pool, and then they flood your bathroom again because they're being a little shit, then yeah, I would say, okay, listen, we've tried this the easy way. Now we're going to take the hard way. You don't have access to this bathroom anymore. Okay? Or like, I need to monitor you every time you go to the bathroom now to make sure that you don't flood the bathroom. You have 5 minutes in there. You have 5 minutes. Make it reasonable. You know, like make it direct. Don't flog your kids, okay? Like it's stupid. Teaching them that doing what you want results in pain. Exactly. Yeah, torture never works. It doesn't.
Now, there's a lot wrong with
and it's torture.
What I just read. Using democratic
what are you
methods
talking
in your
about?
home is a recipe for dysfunction and chaos. As the father and head of my household, I am...
Okay, I agree that kids should not have like an equal say to the parents. I agree with that. But like they should have some say. Okay? Like if your kid says, listen, I like drawing on the walls, Dad. You say, okay, I don't want you drawing on my walls. How about we set up a wall in your room to draw on? Okay, if you insist on drawing on a wall, let's set up one wall in your room that you can draw on. It's your wall to draw on, okay? I feel like that's fine. That's compromise. All that means is compromise. Compromise with your kids. They're people too.
I am not presiding over a democracy. I was not elected to my position. Even if my children voted
you took
to
it by
throw me out of
control. You know what happens when you become a father? You spit out a kid that you now have dominion over. Okay? So yeah, you're right. You weren't elected. You took it by force. You forced your way into the position of being in dominion over these kids. That's disgusting, man. That's a perverted way of looking at it. Shut the fuck up.
Out of office, I
Freak.
would remain
Weirdo
in power.
Shit. Weirdo shit.
Our system of government in the United States, in theory anyway, depends on the consent of the governed. My home does not. If your home
I know.
does,
Oh, we know all too well that you don't care about the consent of your kids. Trust me, we know, man.
that certainly means, without exception, that you have failed as a parent and your children are the kinds of horrible, out of control, miniature terrorists who nobody wants to be around and who, without miraculous intervention, will grow into maladapted, miserable adults. To explain why, it may
forgets that
be
his
helpful
kids can
to
leave him.
take a look at some examples of gentle parenting in action. In fact, this article provides one, quote,
There's a difference between gentle parenting and permissive parenting. If you're a permissive parent, that means that you just let your kids do whatever the they want. That is also stupid. Don't let your kids do whatever the they want. They're kids. They're dumb. Okay, they're dumb in many ways. That's why you're there as a guide. Remember that this man said that 16-year-olds are more fertile. True. Yeah, he violates their kids' consent all the time. Exactly.
if you're looking for a way to incorporate gentle parenting into your life, your best bet is to start small. Model what you want to see on a regular basis. Practice kindness, compassion, and empathy at all times, and try to be less demanding and commanding. Instead of saying, tie your shoes, make it a suggestion. Something like, do you think you should tie your shoes so you don't trip?
That's completely reasonable. That's completely reasonable. You're giving your child now a reason to tie their shoes. What? That's completely reasonable. If your kid is just told, hey, tie your shoes, and they ask, why should I tie my shoes? And you say, because I said so. They're never going to understand the purpose behind tying their shoes. They're just going to think, oh yeah, all you want is submission to you, man. You just want unquestioning submission to you. Which I don't even think he'd deny, by the way. I don't think he would deny that. This was really petty of me. But there was this one time I was at the grocery store, and I heard this kid who was like 6 or 7 years old, and he's like, Dad, why do you get the small cart, right? Like, he got the small grocery cart instead of the big one, right? And he said, Dad, why do you get the small cart? And then his dad says, because Dad likes the small cart, son. And like, I guess that's fine. But at the same time, I'm like, no, you can explain it a little more. You can be like, well, son, we're only here for a little bit of groceries, and the big cart is more precarious to move around. Just explain shit to your kids. Just like educate them a little bit. Be there for your kids, you know? Like, just, if your kid has an honest to goodness question, just explain your reasoning. You know? Like, just explain it. Dad, why do we have the small cart instead of the big one? I like the big one. And you say, well, son, you know, like, I just think that we don't need that many groceries, and the small cart is all we need. You know? Like, it's not that hard. You just treat them like people. If an adult asks you, hey, why did you get the small cart? You know what you're going to say? You're going to say, because I only need a little bit of groceries. Kids are not that stupid. They're a little stupid. They're not that stupid.
Now, the first few sentences of this paragraph start out fine, but then we're told that you should be less demanding and commanding. Now, that's only half right. Less demanding, sure, but you should be commanding. Now, the problem with demands, it's not that making demands is going to traumatize your poor child. It's actually that they're weak. Demands are made by people who are not in control but want to be. Kidnappers and bank robbers make demands. Demands are desperate. It means that you're not in control of yourself or your surroundings. To demand respect is to pathetically and impotently request it. It is to shout.
Trying to be in control is also pathetic, man. Like, that's also like a control grab is also pathetic, especially over your own kids.
Respect me, because nobody does. If you have to tell someone to respect you, it's a clear sign that they don't. And the fact that they don't already is a problem. But to command respect is to be regarded with esteem, admiration, and obedience without asking for it.
Which happens if you're a gentle parent. If you use the gentle parenting style, if you show your kids that you're deserving of it, yeah.
So you should command respect in your home. If you have to demand respect from your children, it means that you are not commanding respect.
I guarantee you Matt Walsh demands respect from his children all the time. Guaranteed.
So you should be less demanding because you're more commanding. But to be neither demanding nor commanding is to be a figure with no authority or respect at all. So instead of telling your child, tie your shoes, you're encouraged to say, do you think you should tie your shoes so you don't trip? Which is all wrong. A strong leader knows what things must be done and gives clear...
Okay, I'll cede him this. You can say, hey, you should tie your shoes so that you don't trip. You should. That's a smart thing to do, man. Like, if I'm talking to my kid and they don't tie their shoes, they're walking around with their shoes untied, I'm going to be like, hey, man, you should probably tie your shoes so that you don't trip. Because otherwise you're going to step on a shoelace and trip and break your nose. I won't say the word to my kid, but like, you get my point. You don't want to break your nose by falling on your face, so tie your shoes. It'd be a good idea. Okay? And if they say, no, I don't want to tie my shoes, I'll be like, okay, break your nose then. See what happens. See what happens. I've taught you how to tie your shoes. You know how to tie your shoes. If you don't tie them, you're going to hurt yourself. So bet. Bet. And eventually, they'll learn the hard way. You know? I'm not going to punish my kids for not tying their shoes. That's stupid. Let them punish themselves. Let them figure it out. Okay? They're whole-ass human beings. I'll never understand people who use the command over children as a flex. It's really weird. It's like the most vulnerable population.
Clear, concise, and confident instructions accordingly. Tying shoes is a thing that must be done. It doesn't matter if your child thinks he should tie his shoes or not. You don't need to build a consensus on the matter. You don't need to put a referendum up for a vote to democratically establish the necessity of tying shoes. And what if he says that no, he doesn't think he should? What then? Will you
then you let your kid around and find out. Yeah. Yeah. You say, okay, you're going to fall and hurt yourself. If they say, oh, I don't care. Okay, let them fall and hurt themselves. Let them learn. Let them learn the lesson. I've learned the hard way. You know what my parents did? They said, hey, don't touch the stove. It's hot. You know what I did? I touched the stove. I'm the kid who touched the stove after my parents told me it's hot and don't touch it. And you know what? I learned the hard way. And I'm better off for it.
Respect him as an equal and let him fall down the steps and break his neck? Or will you tell him to tie them anyway? And if the latter, and I hope it's the latter, what was the point of asking the question in the first place? Your child is a child. He has no idea what he's doing, what he should be doing, what's going on. He needs to know that you know. He needs to know that you are confident.
Then let him break their nose. Okay, let's put it this way. You say, hey, if you don't tie your shoes, you're going to get hurt. Okay? You address the problem. What's the problem? Are you having trouble tying your shoes? Is it too hard? You know, if it's too hard, I'll do it for you until you can learn how to do it. We'll practice it, okay? But you have to tie your shoes, because otherwise you're going to hurt yourself, right? Like, okay, but if it's a matter of like life and death, let's just pretend that this is something that's like a matter of life and death, right? Don't jump into the volcano. You know, obviously you're not going to let your kid jump into the volcano. You explain to your kid, hey, if you jump into the volcano, it's going to be really hot and you're going to die, okay? So don't do that. Let me give you a little sampling of like what happens when you jump into the volcano, and then like you're gonna hold, I don't know, like I feel like this is a stupid comparison, but like my point is, obviously you're not gonna let your kid get severely injured, okay? But like not tying your shoes is usually not going to lead to your kid getting severely injured. So I'm fine with you being like, you know, just like, okay, fine, don't tie your shoes then, see what happens. You know, f around and find out. I feel like that's fine to have a f around and find out one with not tying your shoes. Even if they ultimately don't get that much of a choice, the illusion of it is constructive. That's also true. You'd say, hey, you cannot tie your shoes if you want, but you're going to get hurt. Okay? What's the problem? Why don't you tie your shoes? Do you want to get hurt? No. Okay. Well, then why don't you tie your shoes? I just don't feel like it. It takes too long. Okay. I'll tie them for you. No, I don't want you to. Why not? Like really break them down verbally over it before you just like force their leg over. Come here, I'm tying your shoes. Like, what is that your solution? Just to force them into it? That's stupid.
And secure in your position as the leader. Here's a parenting secret for you. That is apparently not common knowledge.
Ew, that's disgusting, Brutus.
A child wants to be told what to do. He doesn't want open-ended questions.
That is so not true. Are you kidding me? No. A child wants to understand why they're being told what to do. A child wants to understand. A child asks questions. Okay? They ask questions about why they're supposed to do certain things all the time. They're smart people, okay? Children are smart. They're stupid, but they're also smart. They ask a lot of questions. They're very interrogative. Interrogative? Yeah. Interrogative. Yeah, I'm at Walsh. I'm the alpha pack leader. Explain to them why the rules are what they are. Just explain it to them. And usually they'll accept it. And if they don't, they're going to f around and find out.
And limitless options. He wants direction. Now, he may not know that he wants that. He may say that he doesn't want that. But that's because he doesn't understand his own wants, much less his needs.
I disagree with this entirely. This is groomer shit. Saying that kids don't understand what they want, or that they don't understand like what their needs are, is stupid. Kids understand what they want and what their needs are. They understand it. They can't always act on it smartly because they don't have completely developed frontal lobes, okay? But they can understand what their needs and desires are. That much they can understand. This is groomer shit.
If you give instructions, not requests, instructions, and you do it clearly and firmly, he'll be a happier kid. He'll feel safer, more loved, and will end up being a better person in the long run.
That's also very true. If you can't explain a rule, then it might be a dumb rule anyway. Hey, Dad, why do we go to church on Sundays? Well, son, that's just what Christians do. That's what we have to do. Okay, but why? Like, okay, you can't explain why you go to church on Sundays. Maybe it's a dumb rule.
So this is the major problem with the gentle parenting method. It relies heavily on partnering with children who don't know what's best for them and are relying on you to know that. You should not be looking to make your child a partner in his own parenting any more than you'd want the captain of your plane to invite you to partner with him and be a co-pilot, in the cockpit. Now
I disagree. A child should take an active role in their own raising. They should have an active role there, for sure.
Captain's commitment to democratic equality may flatter you for a moment, but it also makes it
It connects us better to God. What if the kid doesn't care about connecting better to God? What if they're like, why should I connect better to God? I'm just saying.
more likely that you'll die a fiery death.
Wait, what?
Now, your captain's commitment to democratic equality may flatter you for a moment, but it also makes it much more likely that you'll die a fiery death. Now, if you go over to TikTok, as mentioned, you'll find many examples of influencers promoting gentle parenting, and they all run into the same problem. So here's one popular gentle parenting video from a guy with 12 million followers on the platform.
Okay.
Just to show you how popular this stuff is. And let's watch it.
Hey, the school called me today and told me about you skipping school. You lied to me about that.
I know, I'm sorry. I should have told you the truth.
Look, here's the deal for that. I think we go 2 weeks
I can already tell that this is acting.
grounded. Is that fair?
Yes.
Everything makes sense?
Yeah.
All right. All right, look, so that's the way we do it in our house. Different scenarios, come up with different things. We don't have to say.
This is such acted bullshit. What the f is this? What? What? No. If your kid's skipping school, you sit them down and say, hey, why are you skipping school? Why are you skipping school? What's the deal? What's going on? Why are you skipping school? Do you think grounding them is going to help? Honestly, do you think grounding your kid is going to help? If you do, then sure, fine, ground your kid. But I don't think that's going to help because it sure as fuck didn't help me. Okay? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, hey, why are you skipping school? Do you care about your future? Okay, do you care about going to college and getting a good career? Then don't skip school, dumbass. Okay? I know that it seems fun to go out and smoke weed with your friends, okay? But all you're doing is killing your brain cells and not looking forward to your future. So if you want a good future, don't skip school, dumbass. All right? That's the way to go. And then if they keep skipping school, I'm sorry. Like, there's a certain point where you just, like, there's not much you can do. Grounding them will just lead to them sneaking out. I feel like, right? They'll just sneak out. They'll just get sneakier methods. You address the problem at its root. Why do you not want to go to school? It's too hard. Okay, we'll study together, son, daughter, whatever, NB, child, whatever. We'll study together. We'll figure this shit out together, okay? I'm going to sit down and study with you to make sure that this is less hard. If you need less hard courses, we'll talk to your teacher about getting less hard courses or getting you some extra help. Something, okay? Something that helps you participate in school better so that you get better grades, so you can go and have a fulfilling life. Work this shit out. Don't just punish your kids, dipshit. This is about their future.
Set grounding or anything like that, but the kids know if they get grounded and they come and hang out with the family and they do things, help around the house, things that they're not asked to do, that grounding doesn't have to stay 2 weeks. And also, look, Drew's a senior. If her last Friday night football game fell within that 2 week thing, I'm not going to hold her back from that either. That is something I'm not going to take memories away from her.
This is so stupid.
Same with, her younger sister, Ken, if she got in trouble when a friend had a birthday party. Now, maybe she doesn't get to spend the night, but I'm not going to let her miss that birthday party. We don't take things like that away, but that's kind of how we do some of the punishments here in our...
He basically makes skits and they're really good. This was a dog shit skit, man. I love this guy. I'm sorry, this skit was dog shit.
house. We try to do better.
Now, it will not surprise you to learn that the comments, and there are hundreds of them, are all from people applauding this strategy and saying that they wish this guy...
That bargaining is a good idea. It rewards improvement and makes it making amends. Bargaining?
Maybe she doesn't get to spend the night, but I'm not going to let her miss that birthday party. We don't take things like that away, but that's kind of how we do some of the punishments here in our house.
I think it's better than a lot of parents do, but I still think this is dog shit acting, first of all. And second of all, it's like, if my kid's skipping school, I'm not going to immediately say you're grounded for 2 weeks. That's just not what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, why are you skipping school? I never skipped school. I didn't skip school. I didn't do that. Okay? So why are you skipping school? I'm just going to say, why are you skipping school? Just be honest with me. Just say, okay, I hate school. Okay. Okay. Let's try to figure out what the disconnect here is. I know you hate school. I hated school too. Okay? School sucks ass. But guess what? If you don't go to school, you're not going to graduate. And if you don't graduate, you're not going to have a very good life outside of this house. Okay? You want to work at a gas station the rest of your life, 60, 70 hours a week? Is that what you want? If that's what you want, keep skipping school, dipshit. Like, that's... I feel like this is very simple. You know what I mean? He has a good message. I just, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Am I the wrong one here? Am I being unreasonable? I feel like if you just reason with your kids and you're like, dude, if you don't go to school, you're not going to have a future. It was senior skip day, Dad. You wouldn't get it. My parents forced me to work. I've wanted to go to something major while grounded. Grounding is awful and abusive. I used to get suicidal when I got grounded during summer breaks because I couldn't do anything with my 2 friends. Yeah, I don't know. Like, okay, listen, if you want to hang out with your friends, I don't think there's a problem with that. Like, just because you're grounded, you shouldn't be allowed to hang out with your friends. Or, sorry, you should still, like, okay, I don't want to take away kids' leisure time. I don't want to take that away. If they're skipping school, there's a reason for it. Get to the reason and figure it out together as a team, because you don't want your kid to grow up and be a bum. All right? I feel like this is very simple. Yeah, grounding is lame. I think it's lame. My parents never grounded me. Nice. My parents grounded me a lot. Grounding is reasonable depending on how you do it. There's a lot of different ways to ground a kid. I just feel like there's a more reasonable, like, thing to do. Get to the root of the cause. You know what I mean? Why are you skipping school? Just be honest. Like, listen, here's what you do. Here's what you do. You foster an environment of honesty without retaliation. If my kid is honest with me, I'm not going to punish them for being honest. Never. Never. Not going to happen. I just don't understand why people would do that. Solve the problem. Yeah, solve the problem. You're not going to school, okay? Let's figure out why. Let's reason through it together, okay? Your punishment, here's your punishment. You're going to sit here and talk it out with me. That's your punishment. You're going to sit here and explain your reasoning from top to bottom about why you skipped school. That's your punishment. And we're going to figure it out. I feel like it's very reasonable.
We try to do better.
Now, it will not surprise you to learn that the comments, and there are hundreds of them, are all from people applauding this strategy and saying that they wish this guy was their own dad. And that's because most of the comments are likely from teenagers
Better than
who,
most
for
parents.
obvious reasons, would love to have a dad.
I will give him this. If he does do that strategy, it's better than most parents.
And who only grounds them if they agree that it's fair, and who will still let them go to parties even when they're grounded. Which is like the court sentencing you to house arrest, but then telling you that your house...
I've seen adults hit kids in public. Yeah, that's pretty standard.
...for these purposes includes
it's sad.
Anywhere on the earth. Being a husband, father, and host of my own show means life never slows down. Imagine trying to eat 31 different fruits and vegetables, grounded, and then ask her if it's fair. Real spice, that's balanceofnature.com, promo code Walsh. Of course, in real life, if you tell your teenage daughter that she's grounded and then ask her if it's fair, in 1 million cases out of 1 million, she will say no. She's not going to say, oh, yeah.
I do agree with Matt Walsh on this. That's a really stupid thing to ask your kid.
Yeah, that's fair. And then just walk out of the room perfectly fine with it. No, she's going to very stridently inform you that it is not only unfair, but it's the most unfair thing that has ever happened to anyone ever.
You know why I agree? Because I did this shit. When my mom grounded me for getting a 50 on a math test, I was like, that's not fair, and I started crying. I literally started crying. 16-year-old me. It was a skit. Okay, yes. But I feel like the skit should at least be a little realistic if he's doing skits. So I do agree with him to a certain extent that, like, yeah, you shouldn't just ask your kid if it's fair that you ground them. Like I said, I don't think grounding is an effective strategy to begin with. Just ask your kid. Just ask them, why are you skipping school? Just ask them. I feel like this is so... Okay, am I crazy? That's so obvious, right? Just ask, why are you skipping school? Why'd you skip school, dipshit? Oh, what, you want to not go to college? You want to not graduate? You want to live here forever? Under my rules? Under my house? Huh? Is that what you want? You want to just stagnate for the rest of your existence? You spend your 80 to 100 years on this planet just not doing jack shit? Is that what you want? Or do you want to succeed in your life? Do you want to make something of yourself? Calm down, I refuse.
So what then? Will you respect her opinion and validate her perspective by throwing out the punishment? If so, what was the point of the whole exercise other than making you look emasculated and weak? And if you'll stick with the punishment, even though she says it's...
Emasculated? Shut the f*** up. This isn't about your masculinity. This isn't about your strength as a f***ing parent. This is about making sure your kid succeeds. That's what this is about. your masculinity. F that. This is about making sure your kid has the tools that they need to succeed in life. What the f? Ew. Ew.
Unfair. What was the point of asking her whether it's fair or not? This is what gentle parenting is all about. It's designed to make parents look indecisive and pathetic in the eyes of their children. Here's maybe the most egregious example that I found just from a quick skim of these kinds of videos. I can only stomach so much, but just watch this and try to follow this story that this mom relates. Watch.
Okay.
Then my daughter just asked for dessert, and I calmly say, I don't think we have anything for dessert. Only she quickly disagrees and says we do, we have ice cream in the freezer. As the blood is draining from my face, I say, oh, that ice cream. Honey, Daddy and I ate that last. Y'all, she had a...
What? If there's, wait, if there's ice cream in the freezer, don't lie. Be like, explain to them why they can't have it. What?
Reaction. She slammed the freezer door, hands on hips, and said, Mommy, we really need to talk about this. Excuse me?
I agree. You just lied to your kid. You just said to your kid that there's no dessert, and yet there's ice cream sitting in your freezer. That's a lie. Why would you lie to your kid like that, dipshit? Why would you lie? That's stupid.
This happened with the Oreos. It happened with the cookies that you made, and you said that Daddy ate the last one and that you ate one too. It happened with the other ice cream. It's starting to occur to me that she's on to us.
What? Dog, you're lying to your kid. Wait. You're lying to your kid about not having dessert. Yeah, of course she's on to you. She has every right to talk to you about that. What? You're lying to her.
It happened with Uncle Aaron.
It's not lost on me that she has the Christian cross
Aaron's
on.
birthday cake. You and Daddy always sneak the good snacks at night, don't you? Why are you
Agreed!
sneaking all the good snacks at and how come every time we wake up, all of the snacks are gone?
You know what you say in that instance? You say, hey, I like... Okay, you play the hypocrite card. You say, hey, me and Daddy like the bad snacks. And we don't want you to have them because we are worried about your health. Okay? Guess what you can do better as a parent? Lead by example. Don't have the bad snacks if you don't want your kids to have them. Okay? You ever thought about that? Or hide them better, at least. At least hide them better. I feel like this is obvious.
There is no getting out of this. And as I'm getting stared down by my 4-year-old, I have nothing to say because I am just caught. Only I didn't spend my childhood pulling hey misters and hide the snacks to...
Also, the way that this cross is sitting on her, like the way that it's like structured is really weird. It's like connected at the top and the bottom rather than the sides. I don't like that at all.
Stared down by my 4-year-old, I have nothing to say because I am just caught. Only I didn't spend my childhood pulling hey misters and hide the snacks to deal with this. I don't have to justify myself now and my midnight Oreo snacking and whatever else I do. I am an adult, so I can do whatever I want at night and I can eat all the snacks I want, is what I want to say. But I know that she's not going to buy that. I also know that I've taught them about this thing called fairness and sharing. And so she just wants me to share the snacks, but I don't want to. Which is...
You're a child. You're a child posing as a parent. What? What? You're a child posing as a parent. This is child behavior. What? Or have a very limited amount that they have to ration out. Yeah, like be reasonable about it. Okay, my kid wants Oreos. Give him 3. You had 3 Oreos tonight. You did good on your homework. You finished your dinner. 3 Oreos. Have a little milk with it. Whatever. Like, make it reasonable. Teach your kids that you can have desserts every once in a while in a reasonable capacity, okay? This is just child behavior, though. This is completely child behavior.
Which is where she gets me when she says, from now on,
you're a child who had a child.
Bit, please. Fair enough. But in 10 to 15 years, this is going to click and I'm screwed, so wish me luck.
I want to see what he has to say about this.
God help the next generation.
Honestly, like, that was a failure as a parent. You just lied to your kids about having dessert. Hide them better. At least hide them better, or just lead by example. When I become a parent, my goal is to lead by example. I want to read more. I want to have fewer bad snacks for myself. I want to have more good snacks, more healthy meals, make healthy meals. I want to teach my kids that, like, hey, this is the way that is healthy to live your life, right? You drink a lot of water, like lead by example. And if I do shit that's unhealthy for me, I do it in private because I don't want my kids learning that that's like a good thing to do. Okay? And I can tell my kids, hey, what I do in my private time is not your business. If I shovel a sleeve of Oreos down my gullet in my private time, that's not your business. Okay? And you get your private time. But you teach your kids before they get that privilege, how to live their life healthily. And that way they don't have those urges to begin with. I feel, okay, is this obvious? This is not obvious. I feel like there's so many mistakes being made here that do not have to be made. Like, I know parenting's not easy, but like, I feel like this shit is not that hard. Like, some of this shit is not that hard.
That video has 360,000 likes, by the way. So let me see if I have this right. Your daughter slammed the freezer door, lectured you, and instructed you not to eat food without her permission. And you stood there, tail between your legs like a scolded puppy, and just took it. You allowed...
This is the wrong lesson. You lied to your kid. She lied to her kid, and her kid caught her. If you're teaching your... This is the wrong lesson to take from this. If you're teaching your kid that lying is bad, you cannot then turn around and then lie to your kid and then have them catch you. She was caught in the act. She was caught lying.
Allowed yourself to be chastised and reprimanded by your own daughter. You permitted her to rebuke you for...
See, his issue with this is that she's taking control, is that the daughter's taking control. My issue with this is that the mom lied to her kid and she was caught. Like, suck it up. You got caught.
Eating your food that you purchased. This is disordered in the extreme. What you and your husband should be communicating is that the ice cream is your ice cream. It's your fridge. It's your kitchen. It's your house. You're not sneaking.
I disagree entirely with this. That kid did not ask to be born. That kid did not ask to be born to me specifically, especially. Like, that kid doesn't have any rights to anything yet. That's unfair to hold that over their heads. That's completely unfair. If your kid sees you eating ice cream, they're going to say, why can't I eat ice cream? You're eating it. You're eating it. That's completely fair. That's fair. That is a fair assessment of the situation. You're eating ice cream right now. Why can't I? Why can't I? You're eating it. That is a completely fair and logical, level-headed assessment of the situation. If you don't want your kid eating ice cream, don't eat ice cream in front of their fucking faces and don't put it where they can find it.
Eating any snacks. They're your snacks. You should pull out a snack and eat it right in front of her.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, perverted freak. I hate you.
Okay? It's yours. You don't have to ask her permission.
He's got a power fetish.
She should be grateful that she has a roof over her
Dominating
head,
your own fucking kids.
and
Disgusting.
any food to eat at all. You're so generous that you even buy her ice cream sometimes. The fact that she's ever had ice cream in her life is an act of generosity on your part. The only attitude you should accept from your child is gratitude for the things you give her and the life you provide for her. And if she speaks to you that way, you should not respond by promising to give her more snacks in the future. No, you should take away snacks, take away privileges, take away freedom until she learns how to speak to you and afford you the respect that she owes you.
Dude, keep that shit in the bedroom. Do not enforce that domination kink on your kids. Disgusting.
The only thing you have to give your child are the basic necessities to keep them alive. Everything else is a privilege.
He does sound like a slave owner.
And privileges can and should be revoked if they are not deserved. Now, I had to give my own...
Eating ice cream in front of your kids while telling them they can't because you have a domination kink and you can't help but force that upon your kids. Disgusting.
My own daughter, a lecture like this recently. She was not scolding me for eating my own food out of my own fridge and would not dare talk to me like that. But she did tell me after I reprimanded her for not keeping her room clean that it's her room and she doesn't know why I care so much whether it's clean or not. Now, I did not validate her feelings.
Okay, so if your kid's not cleaning their room, let's assess the situation before we get the dipshit response from Matt. If your kid's not cleaning the room, you say, okay, why aren't you cleaning your room? Why haven't you kept it clean? Why? Like, just start with that. Just say why. You know? Like, just be reasonable. I feel like this is very simple. Just be reasonable with your kid. Just say, why haven't you cleaned your room? Do you like living in filth? Do you like having dirty clothes everywhere? Do you like wrappers and food shit on the floor? Huh? And in your bed? Do you like crumbs in your bed? Huh? Like, what's the deal? Like, why is your room not clean? And if they say, well, Dad, I just feel like I haven't had time for it. Okay, let's assess that. Let's portion out a schedule, a part of your day that you can clean your room. Or like even once a week. Let's just portion out a part of your day once a week that you can clean your room so that you don't have to live in filth. And then you're happy, then I'm happy, then everybody's happy. I feel like this is so simple. This is not rocket science. Don't just demand, oh, clean your room. Make them want it. Make them want to do it. I hated a dirty room. I hated it. And yet I always had one. Why? Because I had ADHD and I couldn't just sit down and focus on a task. And it was unmedicated. Okay? So if my kid tells me, hey, I don't know why I can't clean my room, I just can't commit myself to doing it, I might go get them checked for ADHD. Figure out the problem. Be a good parent. This is not that hard.
Or get down to her level to make sure that she felt seen and heard. I didn't get on my knees and look her in the eyes and say, I'm sorry you feel that way, sweetie. That must be so hard. I really like it if your room was clean. Is that fair?
Literally. No, literally. Like, no. Not I like it if your room's clean. Why don't you like it? Do you like your room being dirty? No. Why isn't it clean then? I don't know. Okay. Let's figure it out. Figure it out. Logic through it.
Is that okay with you? Can we agree together as a team? Here, I'll help you clean it. No, instead, I sit there and simply say,
yes! Yes, help them clean it! That's another great option. Help them clean it. What? Help them. What are you talking about? If they wait, hold on. Hold the fuck up. If you, No, that's a great, why, I didn't even think of that. Just help them. Listen, we'll sit, Alec's poor mic. If they help you clean the room, I'm more than happy to help them. What are you talking about? What? Yes, help them. He was right, but he pulled it back. Exactly. I'm sorry that I lost my voice for a second there. I'm just like, wait a minute. I was so taken aback by that. I'm like, wait, yes, help them. I can feel Alec's anger from across the Pacific Ocean. It's just... Sometimes I just feel like I'm the only smart person left. You know what I mean? Like, I know that being a parent's hard. But some of this shit is not that hard to fuck up. Or sorry, some of this shit is just like so easy to not fuck up. That's what I meant. Just listen to your kid. Here's how you make your bed. Can you help me put the cover on it so it's nice and even? Exactly. Teach them how to do this shit. Hey, here's an easy, fast way to make your bed. Which I don't do. But here's an easy, fast way to do your laundry. Just throw your laundry in the washing machine. Throw a little soap in it. Boom. There's your laundry. Throw it in the dryer. Fold them up. I'll teach you how to fold. Like, teach them this shit. Do it with them. Okay? Make them independent human beings. Not at the threat of violence if they don't. But just because you want them to be independent. And they want to be independent. They want to be independent. Guys, little known fact about kids. They want to be independent. So teach them how. Show them how. This is not that complicated.
No, it's not your room. It's my room.
Disgusting. Freak shit. Absolute freak shit. Kids deserve privacy.
It's my house.
You.
I let you stay in this room under certain conditions. One of those conditions is that you keep it clean. That's a requirement. It's not a request.
Okay, so then what's the alternative? You kick them out? Go ahead. Kick your kid out. Kick your kid out. Go ahead. Go ahead. Kick your kid out on the street.
I'm going to go downstairs, and when I come back up in an hour, it will be clean. That's it. I wasn't negotiating or asking for permission or trying to come to a consensus. Simply asserted my authority, gave the instruction, made sure that I was clear. It's not any...
Okay, Matt. What happens if they don't? Bet. What happens if they don't? Please, I'd love to know. What happens if they don't? You kick them out? Bet.
Kind of revolutionary parenting technique. It's just parenting. That's what a parent is supposed to do.
He can't
I want to play one more gentle parenting video for you. Another thing that you hear from the gentle parents
he knows how
is
it'll
that
sound.
You shouldn't punish your children. You should instead rely on natural consequences, they like to say. What does that mean? Well, here's another popular parenting TikTok influencer named Dr. Chelsea. She has a doctorate in education, but still uses the doctor prefix. But here she is explaining...
Good point. Being kicked out of his house might actually be better than living there. Good point.
How consequences should work. And she starts by going through some consequences that she says are bad. You shouldn't use them. And then she gives other consequences that she thinks are much better. This is the parenting expert. She's a doctor, everybody. Let's listen to her.
You ran away from me at the park. There will be no screams tonight. You didn't eat your dinner, so there's no ice cream. You failed your math test. You're grounded. You didn't clean up your room when I told you to. Now we're not going to the party. You didn't complete your chores. You can't stay home alone with your big sister. What all these things have in common? They're unnatural and illogical consequences. And while they
No, okay, I agree with some of them, but I think not cleaning a room and then not going to the party, it's like, okay, if you have time to go to the party, you have time to clean your room, right? I don't know, like, okay, I have two minds on this. I don't want my kid to miss a party because they don't clean their room, but I also want to make sure my kid cleans their room, right? So in my mind, it's like, okay, we'll go to the party this time, but we got to make sure that your room's clean. We got to make sure that your room's clean, man. You know, like let's figure out why you did not clean your room. Again, it's just like why? Why? That's a magical question to ask your kid. Why is your room not clean? Why did you skip school? Why did you hit Billy on the playground? Just ask them why. Just reason through it. Or clean the room together. Exactly.
Well, it might work to scare your child into compliance for a minute.
We'll see where she goes.
In the
We'll let her
long
cook.
term, they're likely to make things worse. Which is why so many of you tell me, I've been parenting and trying to do consequences and hold boundaries, and it's not working. He or she doesn't care about anything.
Matt Walsh is absolutely going to comment on the kids screaming in the background, and it's a little annoying, I'm not going to lie.
I think your ratio's off. The ratio at which a natural consequence, not those, will work is 97-3. When you're doing
That does not say 97-3.
those will work is 97-3. When you're doing 97% positive supports, then a natural consequence, natural, not like the ones in the beginning,
This is
may
too
well be
complicated.
effective. But you have to get the positive supports dialed in first. Here's some examples of natural and logical consequences. Kid throws truck. Oh, looks like trucks are too tricky.
Maybe bargain, if you clean your room, I'll take you to the party. I guess. But like my thing is, I would want to teach my kid that you want to have a clean room. When I clean my room, I just do it because I want a clean room. You know, I don't do it for rewards. I just say, hey, don't you want your room to clean? Like, don't you want to live in a clean space? Do you want to walk over clothes? Like, isn't that annoying to you? Just clean your room. Clean your damn room. And if you can't clean your damn room, let's figure out why. Do you have ADHD? You know, like let's figure out why you're not cleaning your room. Because withholding, okay, your kid's not cleaning your kid is not postponing cleaning their room because you're keeping a party from them. You know what I mean? Your kid is postponing cleaning their room. Like, it could be because they have ADHD and they want to do other things, and they would rather do those other things than clean their room, right? It could be because, like, they just haven't even realized that the room's so messy. Like, they're, like, tackle the actual issue. Tackle the issue. Hey, I know you guys love having fun, but this is getting out of hand. I'm trying to record a video, but the mic is picking up your screams. I would definitely try to find a quieter place, at least. I love wallowing in my own filth. You're not living in my damn house.
Key for today. Trucks are all done. We can try again tomorrow. Kid is splashing in bath. Up, water stays in tub. Kid splashes. Water stays in tub. Kid splashes. Oh, looks like bath is too tricky for today. Pull the plug or remove the child. Kids are fighting in the car.
Tell your kid, when you splash the bath water, I have to clean it. You are making more work for me. Okay? And unless you want to clean the bath water yourself, stop splashing. Or have your kid help you clean the splash water. Show them, hey, here's the consequence of your action. Now we have to clean this. Now you are going to help me clean this. Okay? It's not that hard.
Slowly pull over. Be silent. Say, kids are fighting in the car. Slowly pull over. Be silent. Say, I drive when everybody is calm and quiet. Then don't say anything else.
I think this is a pretty good strat.
You can start driving again when they're calm and quiet. Kids are fighting over what show to watch. Oh, looks like shows are too tricky for today. I'll take the remote. Let's try again after dinner.
I think you're jumping too quickly to the punishment. I would say, okay, what do you want to watch? What do you want to watch? Let's work something out, right? Let's work something out. Like, okay, like, we're in the age of, like, you don't even have to fight over, like, this one's on at the same time as this one. You can just say, okay, you want to watch this show. Let's put on this show for 30 minutes. After that, we'll put on your show for 30 minutes. We'll play rock, paper, scissors to see who can go first. Right? As someone who lives in a small apartment, it's pretty damn hard to find a quiet place that isn't outside, so that's the kind of environment I'm used to. When I was a kid, it was first to remote, and whoever had it got to watch what they wanted all day. That's stupid. Bargaining is extrinsic motivation. It won't have a long-term positive impact to the extent intrinsic motivation would. Exactly. It's like, yeah, teach morals, not submission. Just teach them that you don't want a dirty room. And you don't want to fight over your sibling with over who gets the TV first. It's so much easier. It's just easier to not fight. Think about it in terms of an adult. Am I going to fight with my fiance Katie over who gets the TV? Of course not. I'm going to say, hey, what are you doing on the TV? This is to the extent that we would ever fight over it, which we have never. But let's say that we were. What are you doing on the TV? What are you doing? I don't know. I'm watching Game Grumps. Okay. How about in 30 minutes I take the TV so that I can play video games? Is that okay? Like, just be reasonable. Just be reasonable! Just be reasonable. Let's see what Matt Walsh has to say about this.
Okay. Well, you should know from the start not to pay attention to a parenting guru who can't even get her own kids to be quiet for 2 minutes so she can record a video.
See, I called it.
More to the point, there's a major problem with the consequences that she suggests. She calls them natural. I don't even know what the hell that's supposed to mean in this context. But they would more aptly be called flimsy and toothless. The problem with a consequence, like pulling the car over momentarily before you start driving again, or taking TV away only until...
I think that was the best suggestion she had. Pull the car over and say, hey, like, let's say that you're headed to, like, the grocery store, and the kids don't want to go, but, like, they have to go with you. Okay, listen, I'm going to pull the car over until you kids stop fighting, and it's just going to take longer to get home now. I know you want to play your video games. It's going to take longer to get home now. So, like, just stop fighting and then we'll go. That's completely reasonable. That is completely reasonable. You know?
Dinner is that those consequences cause no discomfort or pain or even inconvenience to your children. They aren't.
So gross, man. It's so gross.
Going to care about the consequences because there's no reason to care. A consequence should be something that causes them enough grief that they want to avoid it in the future. No other consequence has any meaning or will have any impact. So think of the consequences that she says don't work. Taking away screen time, grounding, taking away a party that they were supposed to go to. But no, those are all good consequences. Those are effective consequences. Why? This is real simple. Because it's stuff that the kid will not like.
It's not about just doing things that the kid won't like. It's about doing things for a reason. When you're an adult, if you shirk your responsibilities, there are natural consequences for shirking those responsibilities. Let's take not doing the dishes, for example. If I don't do the dishes long enough, mold starts growing on the dishes. It starts to stink. I don't have a sink that I can wash my hands in. It's inconvenient. Okay? And it very rarely reaches that point anymore because I understand the consequence of leaving it for too long. I like having a clean sink. All right? Teach your kids to like having a clean sink for those reasons. Teach your kids that there are natural consequences to your actions or inaction. It's not that hard. Because I don't get spanked by a parent for not doing the dishes. I don't get grounded for not cleaning my room. I get ants. Or I get mold. Or I have to step over clothes every 2 seconds. It's inconvenient. Prepare your child to be a adult. Because there ain't always going to be somebody to spank their asses when they leave a little bit of food on the floor. You know? Like, or when they don't clean their room or do their homework. Prepare your kid for the world.
Okay, a child will be upset about losing screen time and losing a party, etc. And that's the whole point of the consequence. They have to be upset with it. If they're not upset with it, there's no point. Okay, this is one of the reasons why timeouts often don't work when they're overused and not used in the right way. Because the kid doesn't care. You gotta sit for 5 minutes and they don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't make an impact. The problem is that many parents today are terrified of making their children upset. They'd rather be friends than authority figures. They're so focused on validating their kids that they've lost all sight of the much more important job, which is guiding, instructing, and civilizing their kids. That's the primary role of a parent.
Yeah, civilize your kids by teaching them that violence is the answer to making other people do what you want. Good job.
That is parenting. Gentle parenting, like so many modern methods to come before it and so many others that will come after, may more accurately be called non-parenting. It is not a new way of fulfilling your parenting duties, but a way of abdicating them entirely. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening.
Okay. Well, that was painful. Yeah, if you don't clean up the food you dropped on the floor, you might step on it, you might get ants, it might get moldy, it might stink, all right? Like, just teach them the natural... This is not a hard concept to me. Teach your kids what the natural consequence to doing things bad is, okay? Teach them that skipping school leads you to not graduating. And if you don't graduate, you don't get a good job, you don't get to move out, you don't get to have your own place, you don't get to make enough money, right? You don't get to get married and have kids. You don't get to live your own life. You know? You don't get to be independent. Kids want to be independent. Okay, teach them how to be. Teach your kids to not be an unwashed neckbeard or they'll sink their social life and feel like shit. Exactly. Oh, you don't want to get a shower? Oh, what? Do you want to stink? Is that what you want? My dad did that with me to a certain extent. He was like, well, son, like, why do you like living in filth? Like, whenever my room was dirty, he's like, son, this looks like shit. Why do you like living like this? And I had undiagnosed ADHD at the time, which was the reason that I liked living like that. Okay, his mistake was he ascribed it to laziness. That was his mistake. But I think he was right on the money by saying, son, why do you live like this? You know? He never actually stopped to figure it out, but at least he asked the damn question. So, you know, just like ask your kids reasonable questions and come to an understanding. You don't have to be a pushover as a parent. Just reinforce values in your kids by teaching them the natural consequences of their actions. It's not that hard. You don't have to beat them. You don't even necessarily have to ground them. Just like, again, teach them what happens when they don't do the things that you ask them to do. Just teach them what happens. It's not that hard.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more, hit the notification bell to be notified when I upload. If you enjoy my content, you enjoy what I do, I really appreciate any financial help that I can get. Go to youtube.com/AlecGunterTTV/join. You got some awesome benefits, such as seeing early videos, awesome emotes that you can use in the comments of YouTube videos, and a sweet badge next to your name. So if that sounds interesting to you, I'd really appreciate if you join. It is cheaper than the cost of a blowjob from your mom. So with all that being said, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.